like me, have you wondered if the NIH would have been able to use Premarin as the primary drug in menopausal clinical trials for nearly a century if the FDA had applied its own regulations to Premarin? To find out the answer, I invite you on a journey with me into the world of medical research on menopausal women with hypogonadism. My name is Beth Rosenshine, and I want your future to be better than my present. Let's get started. On the surface, it looks reasonable for the NIH to use Premarin for the treatment of menopausal women with hypogonadism in their clinical trials because the FDA has approved Premarin as an estrogen replacement drug. Saying that a drug is estrogen replacement sounds reasonable because menopausal women with hypogonadism need an estrogen hormone to be replaced. The specific estrogen hormone needed is estradiol. Looking deeper though, the FDA really doesn't see Premarin as a drug to replace estradiol. In 2013, the FDA approved a drug called Duovay. The main ingredient in Duovay is Premarin. The FDA didn't approve Duovay as a drug to replace estradiol. Instead, the FDA approved Duovay to primarily treat only one symptom of the 100 symptoms of hypogonadism. By not approving Duovay as an estradiol replacement drug, the FDA is acknowledging that Premarin is not an estradiol replacement drug. Pfizer confirms this on both the Duovay and Premarin web pages. Pfizer advertised Duovay primarily as a treatment for hot flashes. Pfizer advertises Premarin primarily as a treatment for hot flashes. The difference is that Duovay is FDA approved to treat hot flashes and Premarin is FDA approved as an estrogen replacement, implying an estradiol replacement. What's going on here? The FDA requires the manufacturer of every drug to submit data on the therapeutic or healthiest level of their drug. However, the FDA does not require this of Pfizer for Premarin and Duovay. For Duovay tablets, there is no estradiol level listed on the full prescribing information insert, which proves the goal of using Duovay is not to provide estradiol hormone replacement. For Premarin tablets, there is no estradiol level listed on the full prescribing information insert, which proves the goal of using Premarin tablets is not to provide estradiol hormone replacement. For Premarin vaginal cream, an estradiol level is listed, however. It is not identified as steady state or therapeutic level. FDA regulations require steady state or therapeutic levels of all active ingredients. On the full prescribing information inserts for Duovay and Premarin, there is not one steady state or therapeutic level listed for any active ingredient. The FDA knows that Premarin contains at least 250 ingredients, but only requires 5 to be listed on the full prescribing information insert. The FDA knows this because scientists at the FDA wrote a paper that was published in 2015 trying to identify the chemical formulas of all the hundreds of ingredients in Premarin. But the FDA couldn't do it. The FDA could only come up with a best guess for the chemical formulas for 60 ingredients. The FDA simply acknowledged the presence of the remaining 190 active ingredients and left them unidentified. Why doesn't the FDA require Pfizer to identify the hundreds of active ingredients in Premarin? If Pfizer had submitted a list of Premarin's ingredients to the FDA, then the FDA wouldn't have had to try to identify the ingredients in Premarin. Think about it. The FDA is figuring out what is in Premarin instead of Pfizer telling the FDA what is in Premarin. If the FDA did its job and followed its own regulations, the NIH would not have been able to have used Premarin since 1942 and cause irreparable harm to menopausal women for nearly a century. Yes, on the surface, it looks reasonable for the NIH to use Premarin because the FDA has approved Premarin as an estrogen replacement drug. But there is no replacement of estradiol. There is no hormone replacement of any kind. Menopausal research is nothing more than a house of cards. I'll talk more about this in my next video. To learn more in upcoming videos about unethical menopausal research, please click here to subscribe.